Hello and welcome to Solijo, where we make bag making easy. Today we're making this shoulder bag that is pleated on the exterior with a scrunchy handle. So what you'll need are two pieces of vinyl that measures 20 inches wide by 8 inches high. We'll fold it in half and we'll use something round, and we're going to round the bottom section of our panel. I marked the center of my panel and now I'm going to make the pleats. I'm not using any particular measurements, I'm just folding it as I go. You can do it as wide or as narrow as you would like. So you can do it exactly as I'm doing, or you can just do it your own way, add your own sauce to it. So I'm just folding along until I reach to the end, and that I like the shape of the bag. So once you finish making your pleats, then you will take it to the sewing machine and you will sew across to hold the pleats down using a 1/4 inch seam allowance. And if you've made pleats in the bottom, you will sew across those as well. Now repeat the steps for your second exterior piece, and your two exterior pieces should look something like this, or however you would like it to look. This is what I have. So let's continue. So take your, I'm adding some piping to the sides of my bag. If you're doing the same, you will follow along by taking your piping and running it along the outsides or the sides of the panel piece to get the measurement and cut it out. You will need 2 pieces of cording, and after this you will need 2 pieces of fabric or vinyl that measures about 1.5 inch wide by the length of your cording. I already have this piece which is 2 inches wide, so I'm still going to use it. I'm just going to cut down the center to get the 2 pieces that I need. So I'm taking my cording and I'm going to place it in the center of the fabric and fold over in half. Now if you have glue or double-sided tape, you can use that to hold the fabric piece together with the cording in the center. I do not, so I'm going to stitch instead. So I'm going to pin all along, and then I'm going to take it to the sewing machine and stitch as close to the cording as possible. Now I do not have a cording foot, but if you have one, you can use that, or you can use your zipper foot to get as close as possible to the cording. So these are my 2 pieces of cord piping, well prepared, and now I'm going to add this to the edge of my 2 exterior pieces. So match the raw edges of the piping and your exterior piece, and you will pin all around, pin or clip all around. Going to trim the cording down about ½ inch shorter than the fabric, because we want to turn it in such a way between the gusset and the exterior. We're going to start our stitching about ½ inch down from the top edge, and you will understand why we're doing that as we go along. So stitch your piping in place and then we'll continue. You'll add to your second exterior piece as well. Now let's add the gusset to the exterior piece. This gusset is 4 inches wide by about 34 inches. You can use about 4 inches by 32 inches should do, but you will use your measurement to make sure that you have enough fabric to go all around the exterior piece. So we're lining up the edges of the exterior and the gusset piece. As you can see here, I'm pushing the piping out between the two so that it will turn off kind of like a pivot and out of the way, if you can see there. Okay, so you will continue to pin all around, and when you're going around the curve, you will put some slits. Make sure it's not bigger than your seam allowance. So I'm using a 1/2 inch seam allowance, so your slits should be no longer than 1/4 inch. And this will help the fabric to spread as it goes around the curve. So you'll see me doing this in the video, so you'll do it as well, and this will help you to help your fabric to lay flat. You'll continue all around, and then you'll take this to the sewing machine once again, and we're going to stitch in place using a 1/2 inch seam allowance. Once you've completed this, you will add your second exterior piece to the other side and pin and stitch again, and this will complete the exterior of the bag. If you're a new viewer here, welcome. If you're a returning viewer, thanks for sticking with me, and I hope that you will continue. And for those who are not subscribed, please do so, and give this video a like so that the algorithm will share it with other bag making lovers. And if you have anything that you would like to ask me or share, you can do so in the comment section below. Place your completed exterior on top of your lining fabric and mark around, and this will give you the shape of the bag. So you can make the lining. You will need 2 pieces for the front and the back lining, and then after this you will measure the gusset, which will be 4 inches wide by the length that you receive when you measure around. I think it's about 32 inches long, but you will measure your individual bag and use that measurement for the length. And after this, you will put together your lining pieces the same way you did the exterior piece, making sure to leave 4 inches unsewn at the bottom of one side of your lining. This will be used for turning your bag right sides out when you've completed your sewing. Make sure to backstitch at the beginning and the end of your sewing. Now let's install our magnetic snap closure. Find the center of your lining piece and mark 1 inch down from the top edge. And in that spot is where you're going to place your closure. So take the washer and place it over the mark that you made and mark this area for the prongs. And you will follow along to install your magnetic snap. You can also reinforce the area where you're going to place the snap with some heavy interfacing or foam. Or you can also interface your lining pieces to make it more sturdy, but I like mine the way it is, so I did not add any interfacing to mine. But you have the option to do so if you would like. snap closure is in place, so let's move on to making the handle. So my handle is 4 inches wide as well, and it's about 55 inches long. You're gonna fold in the raw edges about 1/4 of an inch, and then bring those two edges together. That way we don't have to turn over after sewing, because we'll be sewing along the right side. So you can pin this together all along the strip, take it to your sewing machine and sew down using 1/4 inch seam allowance. And then we will place our webbing inside of this strap handle and gather it so we can have the scrunchy effect. So go ahead and finish up your sewing, your pinning and then sewing, and then we'll continue to the scrunching section of the video. So this is my webbing. It's 18 inches long and it's 1 inch wide. You can use your own as is, but I want to sew it in half, so it will be 1/2 inch wide. So I'm folding it in half, and then I'm just going to run a stitch along the edge to hold the two sides together. And then I'm going to run this inside of the channel that I made earlier with the final. And because the final is longer than this piece of webbing, that is where we get the gathers, so we have that scrunched up look. If you have a better way of installing the webbing inside of the final, please let me know in the description, in the comment section. But this is the best I could do at the time. So I used my seam ripper and run it a little bit inside of the webbing and then push that along the final, making sure to hold the other end because you don't want to lose it. And taking your time so that you don't, because you're using a sharp tool, you don't want to poke holes inside of your fabric. So take your time and run the seam ripper through the fabric with your webbing. Hopefully this works for you as well, or you have a better method. So I'm just pinning the ends together so that I don't lose it, or you can take it and put a stitch across both ends to make sure that the final does not move. Now we're going to make some strap tabs so that you can attach a crossbody strap to your bag. So I'm using a piece of fabric that is about 1.5 inch wide, the length of your choosing, 2 inches or 3 inches would do. And I fold in the raw edges towards the center and stitch along the two sides. And now I'm running it through my D-ring, and I'm going to connect it to the handle and stitch. The D-ring tab is optional, so you don't have to add it if you don't want to. So make sure and stitch your handle to the gusset of your exterior, to the exterior of the bag. Make sure it's in the center of your gusset. Now your exterior should be right sides out and your lining should be wrong sides out. You will place your exterior inside of your lining and make sure that your handle is between the lining and the exterior pieces. Line up the side seams and make sure your handle is straight, and you can point your seams, the seam allowance of your seams, in opposite direction so that they lay flat, or you can open them, your choice, but just make sure that they're lined up. And you will pin or clip all around the top of the bag, and then you will take this to your sewing machine, and again you will sew along using a 1/2 inch seam allowance to close up the bag. Okay, so you remember the 4-inch opening that I told you to leave at the bottom of your lining? This is where it becomes useful. So you put your hand inside through that hole, and you will take your time because you don't want to rip your stitching, and pull your exterior out through that hole to turn the bag right sides out. After you've done that, you will fold in the opening and use some clips to hold it in place, and you can either whip stitch or you can edge stitch using your sewing machine. Make sure that you use a matching thread so that the stitching won't show up and that it will blend in with your fabric. And you will stitch that opening close and tuck the lining inside of your bag, and that will complete this pleated shoulder bag with a scrunchy handle. When I finished sewing up the hole and tucking everything in, you have the option of top stitching around the top of the bag using about a 1/4 inch or a 1/2 inch seam allowance, but I decided not to stitch around the top edge. What I did instead is I used some clips and I clipped all around the bag. I made sure to roll the seams flat, clip around the bag, and I left it like that overnight. And the following day, when I removed the clips, I find the top of the bag was laying flat and nice. But to make sure that it remains that way, you can top stitch. The choice is yours. But I kind of like the look without the top stitching, and so I did not top stitch my bag. So you will follow along to finish up making your bag. I hope that you understand everything that I was trying to show you, and if you have any questions at all, please feel free to leave them in the comments below. Remember, give this video a like so that other people can other bag makers can see it, and maybe there's a beginner who needs some assistance in making a cute and nice bag with a nice finish, and this would be perfect for them. So you can share also to your social media or with your family and friends. I would appreciate that so very much. Remember to subscribe as well and hit the bell icon so that you don't miss any of my new uploads. My name is Jo, and I thank you for watching, and I hope you will continue to watch the other tutorials that I have available for you on bag making.